All right, good afternoon and welcome. My name is Nikita. We appreciate you attending our webinar today to discuss the 990N form. If you have questions, we will have a live Q&A, a couple of opportunities throughout the presentation, so you can post your questions in the chat during our live Q&A and we'll answer them at that time. We do want to mention we are not tax advisors. We will not be providing specific tax advice. We will only be discussing IRS e-filing requirements and the process of e-filing. For specific tax questions, please contact a tax professional or the IRS directly. This presentation will be recorded and available at tax990.com. We will also send an email to everybody later on today with a recording of the webinar. During today's webinar, we will be discussing what is the 990N and the filing requirements, the benefits of filing with Tax 990, and like I said, we'll do a live Q&A. We'll also go into the Tax 990 application and look at the process of filing a 990N together. So in 2019, the IRS mandated the e-filing of all 990 series returns. This includes the 990N. The 990N is also referred to as the e-Postcard. It's a very short 3-part return that is meant to confirm to the IRS that your organization had gross revenue of less than $50,000 during the tax period. When filing the 990N, there's not quite as much information required as there is with other 990 series forms. Unlike with the 990 or the 990EZ, you're not required to report specific revenue, expenses, contributor information, governing body information, or activities on the 990N form. The 990N requires you to report the organization's EIN, the tax year, the organization's legal name and mailing address, any other names the organization uses, such as the doing business as name, the name and address of the principal officer, the website address if the organization has one, and confirmation that the organization's annual gross receipts are $50,000 or less. The majority of the information required to complete a 990N can be found on the organization's IRS determination letter. The 990N is only applicable towards an organization that is not recognized as a private foundation and has annual gross receipts less than $50,000. The 990N has a few more restrictions than some of the other 990 series returns. As mentioned, it is only used to report the organization made less than $50,000. If your organization needs to report any additional information, they would need to choose to file a 990EZ or a 990 form. The 990N cannot be used if the organization is filing a final return. This means if the organization is closing, dissolving, or terminating, they would need to choose to file a 990EZ or a 990 form. The 990N does not qualify for an extension. If you are running out of time to file the 990N form, you cannot file an 8868 extension form to apply for a 6-month extension. An organization is not able to report a short year on the 990N. If the organization is changing a tax period, it would need to be reported on a 990EZ or a 990 form. A short tax period is not accepted on a 990N because the IRS wants more information as to why you are reporting a short tax period, and as mentioned, you're not able to provide explanation or additional information on a 990N form. The 990N does not have an amendment option. If you file the 990N by mistake or make a mistake on the information provided on the 990N and the form is accepted, there's not an option to amend it like there is with the 990EZ or the 990 form. You would need to contact the IRS to determine how to proceed in the event of a mistake on a 990N. So as I said, we're going to look at the process inside the application in a few minutes. However, to file a 990N form, you're going to provide the previously mentioned information regarding the EIN, the tax year, the organization's legal name and mailing address, the doing business as information if applicable, the name and address of the principal officer, and the web address if applicable, and confirm that the organization's annual gross receipts are $50,000 or less. Once you provide this information, you will review a summary format, process your filing fee, and transmit the return to the IRS. When filing a 990N with Tax 990, you'll receive a summary of the 990N in a PDF format that you can keep for your records. With Tax 990, we offer several benefits to filing the 990N form. You'll be able to track and keep records of your forms filed. You'll be able to change the form type and file in the same account if your financial status increases in an upcoming year. And you'll receive confirmation of acceptance from the IRS so you have peace of mind in knowing the form status. Well, we are going to look at other Tax 990 features here shortly. Tax 990 is SOC 2 certified, which is an extensive certification process we go through annually to ensure your information is secure. We also have a live support team available by email, phone, and chat to help you complete your return if you get stuck or have any questions. Okay, so before we look at the deadlines and go into the application, we'll do a quick Q&A. If you have questions so far, please go ahead and add them to the chat and we'll answer them here live. I'll give you guys just a couple minutes to get your questions typed up. Okay, we have someone asking, once you start the form, does it have to be finished? Or can you start and stop several times and come back where you left off? With you can start the form and leave, and when you log back in later, you'll pick up right where you left off. Amy is wondering if the 990N is the same as the 990EZ. It is not the same. The 990N is also called the e-Postcard, and it's for organizations reporting $50,000 or less in gross receipts. The 990EZ is for organizations reporting more than $50,000 but less than $200,000 in gross receipts and less than $500,000 in assets. And the 990 form is the longest form and is for organizations reporting more than $200,000 in gross receipts and more than $500,000 in assets. We do have a webinar that goes over the specific forms and qualifications. It's available at tax990.com if you'd like to review that webinar as well. We have a question. So Jean is wondering, they filed an extension and then filed the 990N. So that would mean that your 990N was filed late because the extension isn't applicable towards the 990N form. You would need to contact the IRS for that information on how to resolve that. And I will privately message you a phone number that you can use to contact them. And this is going to be the IRS tax exempt hotline. David is wondering, as a private foundation, if they can file the 990N because they had gross receipts less than $50,000. We also have a webinar on qualifications for a private foundation at tax990.com. So David, I highly recommend you check that out. However, if you are a private foundation, if your organization is registered as a private foundation, you are required to file the 990PF regardless of your financial status. If you file a 990N as a private foundation, the return will be rejected and you will have to start over with the PF form instead. But like I said, check out that webinar we have on our website specific to your private foundation. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on. The questions have slowed down quite a bit, so we'll go ahead and proceed. If you think of any questions, you can go ahead and throw them in the chat now, and I will follow up shortly when we have our next live Q&A. So the 990 series return deadlines are based on the organization's tax year. Your annual 990 series return must be filed by the 15th day of the 5th month following the end of the organization's tax year. Right now, we're focusing on the November 15th deadline. If the 15th of the month falls on a weekend or federal holiday, the deadline is moved to the next business day. Most organizations have either a calendar tax year that runs from January 1st through December 31st, or a fiscal tax year that runs from July 1st through June 30th. However, a fiscal tax year can be any 12-month time frame other than January 1st through December 31st. If you're not sure what your tax year is, you should reference your determination letter prior to filing, because if you input the wrong tax year on your form, the IRS will reject it. So you want to make sure you're using the correct tax year prior to filing. As I mentioned, we're focusing on the November 15th deadline, which is for the tax year that runs July 1st through June 30th. 5 months after June 30th would be November, and then of course the 15th of November. So if you have a July through June tax year, we highly suggest going ahead and getting started on your return now to make sure you have enough time to get that completed and avoid any penalties or late fees. Tax 990 is a market-leading IRS authorized e-file provider. We have over a decade of experience e-filing tax forms. When you file with Tax 990, we provide you with excellent live customer support, competitive pricing, and options to file for previous tax years. Since the IRS has mandated e-filing, Tax 990 is your solution for electronically filing your annual 990 series return. Tax 990 offers several leading features to assist you in your filing process. We have the internal audit, which is performed after you've completed the return, and it just verifies that the requirements from the IRS form instructions have been met. In the case that your return is rejected by the IRS, Tax 990 provides the reason the IRS rejected the return and allows you to resolve and retransmit that return at no additional cost. For example, if the IRS rejected your return because the tax year provided does not match what the IRS has in their database, you would be able to edit that information on the return and retransmit it. It's important to know if your return is accepted, so once the IRS provides a status update, you'll receive an email with an acceptance notice. The IRS acceptance letter will be available in your account for your records. Whether you assist in the filing process for multiple organizations or you're only filing for one organization, you can manage all your details from the same Tax 990 account. Your organization information saves in the account, so when it comes time to file each year, you can select what organization you're filing for, and the name, EIN, address, and principal officer information will auto-generate. We also get a lot of questions about the signature portion of the return when e-filing. If you're filing on behalf of your organization, a physical signature is not required. You will only need to provide the name and the title of the individual preparing the return, but you will not need to sign the form. When you're filing as a paid preparer, you'll be able to send the 8453 TE signature page to your clients where they can sign and return it to you electronically. Once it's electronically signed, it will automatically upload to your return and you will be able to proceed with filing. Filing a 990 return, it can be a lengthy process. So when you file your return with Tax 990, you can come and go as you please and the information you enter is saved automatically. And since we offer a cloud-based program, you can access your account from anywhere at any time to pick up where you left off. We also understand that most organizations have been paper filing for years and prefer to review the return prior to transmitting or while working through the process. So you'll have access to a draft PDF while you're working on the return, and when you finalize and transmit the return, you'll have access to a professional copy for your records. The professional copy will remain in your account, so you can print and download it at any time. But with the 990N form, since it's such a small form, it's just a summary page. However, it is still available in the account. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the process really quickly of filing your return 990N with Tax 990. So I'm just going to log into my account here. So if you're new to Tax 990, you would create an account and you would add your organization. That would be your first step. Once you've added your organization, it'll just show up on your home page here. If you have multiple organizations, it'll show up in the drop down and you can choose which organization you're filing for. As I mentioned, we offer the current and 2 prior years. So if you do need to file for a prior year, you can choose from the drop-down menu which tax year you're filing for. Today we're going to choose for 2022. And we're going to start the 990N form. So as you can see, we offer all of these additional forms. But as mentioned today, we're just going to file the 990N. So when I click Start Now, it will automatically take me to the tax year because our organization details have been pulled automatically from when we added our organization to the account. So we'll choose our tax year or indicate our tax year here. I'm actually going to go ahead and indicate that it's a fiscal tax year, where we have the option to choose our beginning and ending date. Now, when we choose our beginning date, we're going to click the calendar icon and change the month, and then choose the first day of the month. If you do not click on the first day of the month, it will not populate the tax year. So when we indicate our beginning date, it will automatically generate a 12-month time frame to our ending date, and it will tell us what our due date is. From there, we'll just click Next and review our form summary, just confirming our organization information, our principal officer information, and our tax period. And we'll check the box confirming that our gross receipts were $50,000 or less. And click Next. As I had mentioned, we provide the internal audit, which is going to confirm that your form has met all of the IRS e-file requirements. If you have any audit errors, they will generate here, and you'll be able to click Fix Error and navigate back to that section to resolve it. From here, we'll process our payment, our filing fee for the 990N return. Once we've provided the credit card details to process the payment, we'll be taken directly to the transmit screen where we can pay and transmit to the IRS. Again, you have a final opportunity to review your organization information, your provided details, and edit if necessary. Once we click Pay and Transmit to the IRS, our form will be sent directly to the IRS and will be taken to a congratulations page. Now, when we go back to the home screen, again, we'll see here that the Form 990N for tax year 2022 has been transmitted to the IRS. We can view a PDF of the form. As I mentioned, it's a form summary, so it's not going to be, it's not going to look like a typical 990 long form. It's just going to provide confirming you are less than $50,000 and your organization details. You can view it or you can download it. We'll be able to view our receipt for payment and the form instructions if necessary. Now, once the form is accepted, this will say accepted by the IRS, and there will be another icon here indicating the acceptance letter where you can download that information. So we'll do another quick Q&A since we were able to review the application. If you have any questions in the application, happy to go over those, Or if you have questions for qualifications of the 990N, we can look at that as well. So I'll give you just a couple minutes again to input your questions before we start answering those. So Anthony is wondering, if you qualify for the 990N, can you choose to file the 990 EZ or the 990 form? And that's a great question. Yes, you can always choose to file a larger form, but you cannot choose to file a smaller form. So if you qualify for the 990N form, you can choose to file an EZ or 990. However, if you qualify for the 990 EZ because your gross receipts are greater than 50,000, you can't choose to file the 990N instead. You have to file the 990 EZ at that point. But yes, you can file up if necessary to provide that additional information. Oftentimes, organizations will choose to file a larger form if they're going to be focusing on obtaining donors or grant applications, or looking for volunteers, things like that, because they can use their 990 series returns as proof of why they should qualify for those grant applications or those donations. A lot of organizations will choose to do that just for those purposes, because they want to grow their organization. And a lot of grants and donors and applications won't help your organization if you don't file a larger form to give very specific information on what your organization does. Sarah, in regards to your having just received public charity status this year, I would suggest giving the IRS a call and confirming with them if you're able to file the 990N with those purposes. I don't believe you can, but I don't want to tell you you can't and be wrong. So I'm going to send you the IRS tax exempt hotline, and I suggest giving them a call to confirm. Okay, we have one more question about penalties and what penalties accrue for filing late. That definitely would be a question for the IRS. Typically, if your organization has fees or has gross receipts less than $50,000 and you file the 990N late, there are not penalties. However, if you don't file the 990 series form, whether that be an N or any other form, for 3 consecutive years, your tax exempt status will be revoked. So I wouldn't suggest ignoring it. You would hate to risk your tax exempt status being revoked because it is a lengthy process to have that reinstated. Okay, well, I mean, the questions have really slowed down, so I'm going to go ahead and proceed. Please keep in mind, we do have a support team available. So if you think of any other questions later on in your day, or you have questions about setting up an account or filing your return, please give us a call or send us an email. We're happy to help you complete that process, which is right here on the slide. I guess I got ahead of myself there, but we're here Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. Happy to help. During peak filing seasons, like the November 15th deadline, our call times may be a little bit longer, but if you call and don't get through to a representative, just leave a voicemail and we will call you back before the end of the day. We do have a very extensive knowledge base. We have great blog and YouTube channels. As I've mentioned a couple times, we do have several recorded webinars on our website about different topics. So please utilize those. We have very clear step-by-step instructions and video guidelines on the 990N. So check those out if you have questions and you're unable to get a hold of us, or we're not here, it's after hours. There's a lot of helpful tips and tricks and resources. All of these things are available at tax990.com, and that will direct you directly to these pages. We do have one more webinar coming up in our educational series before the deadline. We have a last-minute live Q&A webinar on November 13th. We will go over a lot of very common questions that we receive here at Tax 990 with our support team, and we'll also spend a significant amount of time just answering your guys' questions live and just having a back and forth communication. So join that. It's available to register at tax990.com/webinars. And I'll also send out an email with the registration link if you want to use that instead. But I know this was a quick webinar, but the 990N is a quick form. So I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to attend today. Please reach out to us if you have any questions, and otherwise have a great rest of your week.